dosage is a key foundation off which the rest of the studies will build, but also it gives us the data so that at the end of these studies, we can apply the FDA for a new dietary ingredient and Health Canada for that natural health product number. So these are very important studies. We're excited to have them come through. After this, we move on to our 14-day oral toxicity and our 90-day oral toxicity. So it's exciting times for us because we're the first company to work with Amanita muscaria and move it forward in a scientific manner. So we're pretty pleased with that for sure.
Yeah, I got some questions about that. Before that, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about this sector. So a lot of people are saying that the psychedelic companies are pure speculation right now, comparing it to cannabis and saying it's tough to give them real valuations like the cannabis companies back in 2017, 2018, until real sales channels are developed. Can you give us your thoughts on that comparison and how you see Psyched Wellness driving its revenue growth?
Yeah, for sure. And I think those are great questions to ask at this stage in the sector, for sure. What I would point out that I think is a very big differentiator between cannabis and psychedelics is, when the cannabis sector originated, it was a lot of spirited entrepreneurs who were bootstrapping and trying to make it happen in the very, very early days. And it took about 3 to 5 years before you started to see some big money coming in and institutions supporting it. Where the opposite has happened with psychedelics. Right out of the gate, you've got Peter Thiel, Warren Buffett investing in companies like Atai Life and Compass Pathways. Those are some of the biggest money managers in the world, and they're followed on by others. So, you've got a very pharmaceutical approach out of the gate. So it's very science driven. And I think, even the fact that we had the Horizon Psychedelic ETF commence trading in the first year of sort of this sector shows you that there's a different approach to psychedelics than cannabis. However, we do have some companies that have quite lofty valuations. Obviously, it's the goal of every company to do that because you're creating value for your shareholders. However, I do think that we're approaching a time where you might start to see some consolidation happen in the sector because, as you know, when you do a successful job getting that shareholder awareness and growing your market cap, you do get to a point where you're sitting on capital and your shares as capital. And then you look to add sort of bolt-on opportunities that can add value. So, I think Psyched Wellness specifically would probably have a target on our back because if you look at the sector, specifically those in the index, we're one of the 17, I think there's 20 now in that index. And we're probably one of the only ones with a path to revenue within the next year. Working with Amanita muscaria, which is a legal psychedelic mushroom, allows us to start selling, ideally when we make our applications to the FDA and Health Canada, we'll be in a position to start marketing our products in the first half of 2022. So if you're looking at a company that has a 3 to 5 year clinical trial, we add some sizzle to their story that they can continue. So, we're doing our best as a smaller company to defend that. We want to, obviously we want to build out what we've started. We think there's a great opportunity ahead of us. And so part of that strategy was raising money with Canaccord, as we did 2 weeks ago in our bought deal, just to strengthen our balance sheet and to show that we're not vulnerable and be positioned for it. But I think the sector itself, as much as there are similarities to the cannabis side, I think the major differentiator is the fact that big money came in out of the gate and it's very science driven.
And one of the things that I remember being one of the first people ever to talk about cannabis stocks on YouTube in 2017. You can see all those videos when we, we're looking at Aurora Cannabis at $1 and went to 15, Afri at $1 went to 20, Kronos Group at $1 went to 20, Canopy Growth at $5 it went to 70. I mean, these are the core picks that today are still some of the best companies in the sector. So in looking at psychedelics, we are going to find some of those future giants today. There's no doubt about it. And I was the first one ever to interview Mind Medicine at 30 cents. Today, we see it trading between $4 and $5. So it's been a 15x return for investors, and they still don't have revenue, but they've got a lot of money in the bank, hundreds of millions of dollars. So they've done something right in the sense that they've raised a lot of capital. And when you have guys like Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary involved, obviously very well-known billionaire, and you've got guys like, Mr. Bruce Linden himself, the guy who started Canopy Growth involved, you got two tycoons that have been very successful that are dragging all their friends into the deals. And that's probably why they were able to raise so much money. Now, you guys have done this quickly. You guys are right out the gates and you just raised $6 million. How were you able to do that so quickly? Because from what I remember in the cannabis sector, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't like that. They weren't able to raise money that quickly. There was very lofty evaluations in the beginning, similar to what we're seeing in psychedelics, but they weren't able to raise, like MCUR raised 17 million. You guys raised 6 million. I'm just seeing numbers being thrown around, like 10, $20 million being thrown around left, right, and center in the psychedelic space. To me, that is a sign of what's to come. I don't think that these institutions are going to throw $6 million, $10 million, $20 million at the wall just to see what sticks.
Right.
You agree?
No, I agree. And, I would, from our perspective, where we approached it, we have some guys on our team that have the similar cachet as the guys you mentioned, right? So Terry Booth is on our board. Professor David Nutt's on our board. Terry from Aurora Cannabis. Obviously there's two sides of that trade, but you can't deny the impact that he had on the sector, and you can't deny the fact that he was a pioneer, and he's been a great asset for me. And he's part of the reason we were able to get that bought deal with Canaccord. Not many companies will get a bought deal on a 4-month-old private placement. It's pretty risky, I was in capital markets, institutional sales and trading for 16 years prior to coming to the issuer side. I don't think I ever saw a bought deal for a 4-month-old private placement. So when we were able to secure that with Canaccord, initially it was just a $3 million bought deal. That's what their liability desk was comfortable with, but we upsized it to 6.6 with the green shoe being filled. So, we're very proud of that. I know it's small in comparison to some of our peers and the numbers that have been raised, but all of those other groups are AIF filed. So they were able to do a prospectus offering. So it wasn't hold paper. So, I think for us, it was a stamp of approval. We were included in the index, getting a bought deal. So those were two major catalysts, I think, that made the market sort of say, oh, we better pay attention to Psyched Wellness. We've never heard of Amanita muscaria before, but hey, they're in the index and they got a bought deal. There's something here. So for us, those were two really important corporate objectives because it allowed us to get in front of an audience that might otherwise have just looked at the psilocybin or the LSD or the DMT plays. So, there's a benefit to being the only person working on Amanita muscaria in that, we're not crowded. There's not people coming out with press releases every day talking about a psilocybin study that they're doing. However, you are the only one talking about it, and you have to get the attention of the crowd and you have to justify it. So having Professor Nutt on our board is a fantastic validation of that. He's a professor at Imperial College. He's the chair of the scientific advisory board for Compass Pathways. He's probably one of the top 5 regarded modern thinkers of Renaissance in the Renaissance of psychedelics. So, having him on our board, having access to his network and his depth of knowledge is key. So, I think people are starting to recognize that Psyched Wellness is a real player in the space. Amanita muscaria, specifically Muscimol, how it works on your GABA A receptors, is a very important compound and has the potential to have some very beneficial medicinal effects for people.
Jeff, Psyched Wellness is obviously focused on Canada. Are you also looking to do any business internationally? And if so, where?
Yeah, so obviously Canada's our home base. However, everything we're doing right now is a parallel path so that when we complete our studies, we'll be applying to the FDA so we can sell our health supplement product through as a new dietary ingredient, and in Canada as a natural health product number. So those are the two first markets that we'll break into, the US obviously being the largest of the markets. However, Amanita has been used for centuries all throughout Europe and in Asia. So as we build the company out, we will look at looking into other markets. But for the time being, the initial push will be in North America.
Great. And can you go through the products of Psyched Wellness and break them down so the viewers know what the company is mainly focused on for 2021?
Yeah, for sure. So our first product, we're 2021 is really about completing our preclinical studies and then positioning the company to be able to apply for that new dietary ingredient at the FDA and the natural health product number of Health Canada. So the first half of 2022 is when you'll see us start marketing products. And initially it'll be a tincture. That was the easiest form for us to work with the regulators to understand what we're doing. Amanita has not been a Scheduled I drug, but it does have psychoactive properties. So it's really important for us to do all the scientific work to support this, to ensure that that product, when it goes to market, is safe for human consumption. The dosage ranges are known. If you were to have the whole tincture bottle, you're not going to end up, in a hospital and sick. Like any psychoactive, you have to put those measures in place. So the first product will be a tincture. After that, we'll look to put it into different form factors. But initially, we're just starting with that, and we'll go out the gate with that.
With you being a part of many public companies and the experience you have in the public markets, how would you compare the challenges of running a psychedelic company compared to other companies you have been a part of previously?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is my first time as the CEO. So I'm sitting there at the quarterback, and it's a
Congratulations.
great. Yeah, no, thank you. It's a great honor for me. The best part about any, I look at any sort of team organization, and it's all about, having that bench strength. So I've got a fantastic team that supports me, whether it be, David Chisel, my COO, our board and advisory board members, our legal and accounting. So we've got, to run this properly, you need to be able to have a strong team that can run with the ball when you pass it. Because my core focus really is the corporate side, engaging with groups like yourselves, getting the messaging out to the market, working on getting financing secured, and then overall vision that I relay with the board and back to my team. So it's been a great experience for me. I think all the roles that I've had in the past, whether it be on the institutional sales desk, marketing, and taking different management teams around over 10 years, learning what works and what doesn't work, understanding that you need to engage, the investment community. It's kind of like having two jobs. So there's the operations side, and then there's the capital market side. And so you have to embrace that. And fortunately for me, with my background, I really, really enjoyed the capital market side of things and engaging the investors and having a strong team on operations, which allows me to do that, is great.
Now, are you looking to expand the team in the near future? Or do you feel like you have all the people you need for the company to reach its possible potential?
And so our goal was really to keep things lean initially. We're working with a great contract research organization called KGK Sciences here in Ontario. They're doing a lot of the work for us. So it's really key for us to build it out and have that infrastructure in-house. Would just not be economically, make sense for our shareholders to just burn too much capital. So working with strong partners on that side. As we get closer to completing our pre-clinicals, then we'll look to bring on sales and marketing and bring on that in-house expertise to support us. But our chairman, Michael Niederhoff, he's the president of Juul Labs Canada. He was one of the first 10 employees with Red Bull Canada on the sales and marketing side. So we have a lot of bench strength that can help us initially put things into action, and then we just pull in and infill as we need it.
If there was one thing you'd want shareholders to know about Psyched Wellness today before we go, what would it be?
Listen, you've got a team that's very passionate. We're working with a legal psychedelic. We're the only ones in the public market and private, to our knowledge, working with Amanita muscaria. We've got a trademark for our extraction protocol. We're putting that IP around what we're doing to protect it and add value. And I think it's very early in the psychedelic space. We're excited to be part of this. I think the whole sector is doing great work. And we're really happy to be a part of it. Included in that index was a big win for us. And we're just trying to continue to add value and continue to drive forward to getting a product on the market.
Do you think that the psychedelic space is going to be similar to cannabis in the sense, like there's like 400 cannabis companies, everybody got into cannabis? Is that gonna, like, we've got 20 now, is that going to happen in psychedelics too? Do you see that happening? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit smaller? Because what happened in cannabis was out of control, really.
Yeah. Bay Street, House Street, Wall Street, for that matter, classic for, chasing the trend and going after it. And hey, listen, we did the same thing. We looked at it very early as a team and we said, we should get involved in this. We can put together a team that has, capital markets, operations, CPG, put it all together and have a dream team that can really win at this game. And that was our strategy. So I'm not condoning it or pointing fingers, but for sure, I've talked to some of the bankers and there's like 25 or 30 companies coming public over the next 3 to 4 months.
Wow. 25 new ones.
Okay. Yeah. So,
right.
It's always about being first to market, right? As you pointed out earlier, Rich, if you're first to market and you can raise that capital, now you're in a leadership position because you can be the acquirer as opposed to the acquiree. Because no matter what happens, if you've got a good opportunity with a good product in a market and there's someone else who's bigger, they're going to look at that. And as that market sort of gets to the point where there's consolidation, they'll look for it. So for us, we feel that timing was good. We got out, we weren't first out of the gate, but we were, in that first sort of group that came publicly trading. We've been able to, I think, do a good job, getting market attention, creating a good, strong shareholder base. We're able to raise capital. So from our perspective, I think Psyched Wellness is in a great position. And we look forward to, the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I think it's going to be exciting. The whole sector is going to be, it's going to experience a lot of change. I think there's going to be continued changes in legislation or movements towards decriminalization. And all of that removes the stigma around psychedelics, which helps every company. That rising tide lifts all the ships. So we're excited.
The biggest thing that I'm really excited about with psychedelics is there's a lot of pharmaceutical drugs that are killing people, let's be honest. And they're being used for depression, anxiety, pain, and they're just terrible, like just terrible. I love the fact that psychedelics is a natural remedy that isn't going to kill you, that isn't going to have that effect on you. This is going to potentially change the entire world. It is huge what you guys are doing, using natural remedies to help anxiety and depression, specifically those two, pain, those three things. I see just a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, and I'm not going to sit here and start bashing different products that doctors are prescribing to some of my friends, but I got friends that are addicted to all kinds of bad things because they got into a car accident 10 years ago. And the doctor prescribes them something and they're addicted now, and it's not good for you at all. It's terrible. So I love what you guys are doing. It's, to me, not a want, it's a need. I wish it happened sooner. Better late than never. But I really believe that this is going to be one of the biggest growing industries in the world. I think the potential is enormous. And this is just medicinal. Do you see a day where this will become recreational, similar to cannabis? Is that even in the cards? Is that something you guys think about?
It's not on our roadmap. I think, listen, it exists now and it has for decades, and that's part of why LSD and psilocybin are Scheduled I drugs, because of that recreational use that was in the 60s and the political climate at that time. Fortunately for us, Amanita muscaria wasn't used recreationally and it didn't become a Scheduled I drug. But, I think there's a long historical use of these, both through, various compounds, through ceremonies with indigenous groups and shamans, and then again, recreationally, sort of over the last, 50, 60 years, where people have used them. We're not taking that stance. Our stance is we think we have a product that can help people, from the health and wellness side. We're not making any specific claims to it, but, anecdotally, it has helped people with insomnia, it has helped people with pain, and it has helped people with addiction. And we see a huge opportunity with that. Listen, the pharmaceutical companies, they haven't had a mental health breakthrough in over 30 years. And to your point, some of those drugs that are prescribed for it, it's a Band-Aid and you're fixing one problem, but now there's an addiction problem.
Yes.
The great thing that we know about many of these psychedelics is they're not addictive. So, you're treating something with a source that's not going to become a new problem, which is a key, I think, as we move forward. And it's all about, finding ways to help people live a healthy life, and as opposed to treating it, let's help them actually cure it. Like psychedelics are proving that they're actually not just a Band-Aid, but some of the studies that are happening with psilocybin, et cetera, they're actually identifying that we can rewire and reset, and you can help you break through trauma. We can help you break through some of those subconscious issues that you've been buried, that creep up and keep affecting your ability on a daily basis. So that's what I'm really excited about the sector. I think we've got a great chance to make some significant change.
We have a question about revenues. I know you mentioned that you will have revenues by year's end. Is that Q4? Is that the goal? Is there a target date or?
Yeah, no. So that'll be Q1, Q2, 2022. So we'll be completing we'll be completing our preclinical studies at the end of 2021, and then we'll make our application for that. So I would, we're very excited about that. We're having, we have a call with our advisors and our board members next week, again, talking about strategy, talk about, the different channels that we're going to go into. And where I see our product is obviously in similar places that you would find, say, melatonin, for that example, because it's going to be a calming, relaxing effect and helping people as a very microdose to begin with. So, nice. Looking at pharmacies, grocery stores, health and wellness stores, and then through those channels. And then I think there's obviously an opportunity for a product in sort of the smart shops and the places where people are purchasing THC and CBD, because there's a comfort level and there's already an education about sort of these natural plant and mushroom products that are available. So I think it makes sense for us to go into those channels as well. So those are all the things that we're talking about as a group and putting a plan together for 2022 for sure.
Well, we have a lot of relationships with cannabis companies. We have a relationship with TAT, which is obviously in the cigarette industry, tobacco industry. If you ever need any relationships or contacts, let us know. We'd love to make those introductions. And because TAT just did a deal with CLC, Christina Lake Cannabis, to start selling their cigarettes in Canada. So pretty wild, because they were not able, because it's falling under CBD. Their cigarettes are falling under CBD and is falling under cannabis in Canada, whereas in the United States, it's just falling under tobacco. So it's very interesting watching companies evolve and grow and get into new markets. One of the things that you're saying that's reminding me of Mind Medicine. And Mind Medicine, I'm going to use as the example because they've done extremely well, right? And they've raised more money than anyone else. They've got some big names, obviously, and they're trading at a 1 billion market cap, right? And I was able to interview them a year ago when they were at 30 cents and just getting started. And the one thing I remember that Kevin O'Leary said, Mr. Wonderful, he said, the only reason why I took this deal is because they're only focused on medicinal. He said, if they said they were going to go into recreational, I'm out.
Right.
He goes, I'm not interested in recreational. I'm only interested in doing this if you guys focus on medicinal. And I love the fact that you're doing the exact same thing. You're not playing around. You're not playing games. You're not just trying to like figure things out. You've got a plan. You're going to stick to your plan. And because of that, I can see the successes already starting. Obviously, you guys are raising capital. You've got a strong team. And I feel like you guys are a story that's going to just continue to grow and continue to evolve. Now, Jeff, if there was a best way for a shareholder, joint venture partner, another psychedelic company to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, listen, all my contact info is on any one of the press releases. So email, phone call. Happy to talk with any of the investors. Obviously, Rich, thanks for putting me on your Signal group so I can talk to everyone on that. So happy to answer any questions. Reach out to me directly on any one of those platforms, and I'm happy to have a conversation for sure.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man. I'm going to let you get back to work. Awesome. Jeff Stevens, the CEO of Psyched Wellness. Guys, PSYC in Canada, PSYCF in America, also listed in Frankfurt, Germany. Put it on your watches, put it on your radar. I find it to be undervalued, underappreciated, underexposed. Super hyper growth company with an incredible future. Thank you for your time, Jeff. Have a great day. And thank you guys.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. And we'll